Okay, welcome back. SQL Database Fundamental number 3, creating table. So we are going to now start looking out working with the tables in our database. So it should be interesting. Let's have a look at let's go. By looking at how we created a table and most operations that we do in the database we do using language called SQL, and we are going to do this using SQL statement and the created table statement. Surprisingly, so we are creating a table, and at a table name, in this case, we are giving it a name, and it's in the names in the two part. So we tell me a little bit about now. Well, the two parts, including the schema, which is really a container that hold the table itself, and then the name of the table. So cells in our schema, and the product will be the name of the table. We can put other object inside the same schema. Related tables can all be in that cells schema. For example, we'll talk more later about things like views and the stored procedures. They can all be stored in the schema. So it gives us a way to organize, and the later used for security wrapper as well. All right. So sort of the namespace, but also something can use it as an encapsulator for security. All right. So we are creating this table. Now, when I created the table, you can see in the diagrams that appeared above their tables. Now it's a very almost thing because a table consisted of columns. So actually, we need to start defining of the columns that and the table. So in this case, I'm defining the column called product ID. Each column has a data tonnage. So what's the type of the data I can store in the column? In this case, I have say this is the integer column. So for and numbers only in this column. It's a special kind of column. We've got identity, and what that means it's gonna automatically increment the value in that column. So you will quite often see this used as a way of generating the unique key for Lou in the table. So we have got an identity called them, and we have explicitly said this is a primary key for this table. In other words, in this is a column. The volume is uniquely identifies each root in the table, and only one column can have that the identity property, right? That right within the given the table. Then and similarly, only one column can be the primary key. The rest you got the composite of the multiple keys, but you cannot have different columns that each the primary key the only one, the primary key, it consists of one or more columns. I guess is a way to think of the you can combine the column to make a primary key. So we have got our product ID column. The next column we are gonna create something called a name columns, and it's of type of the type of bar curve 20. Now let's those kind of interpret that a little bit bark curve bearing with characters, bearing with characters. So in other words, a string value is a string of characters, and it can vary. Someone who maybe only have some people might or a subproduct in this case might have the names are only 5 characters so long, or you can have any number of the characters up to 20 specified and one maximum. And then we got the same, let's call price, which has specified as a decimal value. And I have also included the word node. There's no tell me a little bit about nodes. Well, in this case, that allows the column to be nodes, which it is said we may not surprise price for one was rows, and they may be because we don't know what it is or because it doesn't have price, right? So we are basically saying we are not enforcing there being explicit value in this column. We can have a new value that says either there is no price or we don't know what the price is. So create so we create our table with these 3 columns. There we got our product ID, our name, and our price. And what I might want to do is then after I have created it, I might want to alter that table and perhaps add additional columns. So we will get this create a table statement to create a table, and the alter table statement is used to modify the definition of a table. We are not modifying the data in the table, we're modifying the table itself. I am altering the table. In this case, I am adding another column called suppliers. It's an integer column that doesn't allow on explicitly. We are not allowing the nodes in that column. And I'm also adding that something called constraint, and the constraint or something you will come across quite often in a database. There are rules that we apply to particular columns. In this case, I'm saying the constraint is that this column has a default volume of 1. So whenever I try to insert a value in the table, if I don't specify a value for the price column, which are those nodes, then we will end up with a null. There is, if I don't supply a value for a supplier column, if doesn't allow the node but does have a default value, then we will get the default value of 1. That makes sense? Sure. So if we don't know the value, something will be supplied for us exactly. So we would like to create a table value to the table, the final. And I think about here I made a big mistake. I don't need that table at all. I can drop that table, and then the way you drop a table is a drop a table. Don't get mixed up with drop and delete, right? Delete is used to delete data in the table. Drop is used to delete a table, to drop a table from the database. So we have got create after, I'm sorry, alter and drop correctly. Those are data definition language, right? Exactly, or DDL. We will talk about later.